Hi, everybody. So this is my favourite part. I'm kind of known in the research team as knowing all about the innovations. And it's been amazing this year to do a huge piece of work on what stakeholders in education think needs to improve. And this is the foundation of the innovations that we've selected this year. So I think what you can trust about HundrED that's a little bit different to other education innovation spaces is that we spend nearly an entire year, each year, really understanding the landscape. And I think we felt it was really important this time because as I was kind of talking to lots of different people around the world, they were kind of complaining that, you know, innovation doesn't usually represent me. Like, innovation can be technology oriented and also can sometimes it just doesn't seem to necessarily include teachers in the classroom. Yet what I found is that teachers can be some of the most innovative people in education, if not the most innovative. So what we wanted to do this year was really understand not only what systems leaders think need to improve in the research reports, but also what people like you and what students think as well. So this is what we spent doing over the last year. We started with a State of the Debate review, going on to a global youth survey, looking at a deep analysis and a write-up, seeking and analysing all of the innovations at the same time, and really kind of working hard to write up this Every Child to Flourish report, which I think is down here. And you can also purchase this soon and is available for free to download online. So I'm going to pass over to Freddie now, who's going to share a bit about the key findings in the State of the Debate.
Hi everyone again. So for the key findings of the State of the Debate, we obviously found that each stakeholder had a little bit of bias towards what they were writing about, which is kind of okay. Yeah. But we did also find that actually they did discuss all but one of our themes. So in general, even if they focused more heavily on one area, they did also focus on all 45 of our themes.
Yeah, and we looked at 109 different sources when we were doing this, including things like academic reports, but blogs and social media analysis, which doesn't typically happen when you're looking at white papers and research reports that are trying to influence what is the innovation that is selected, what kind of things are showcased and put out there, right?
Yeah, so through Twitter and things like that, we got a lot more in-depth knowledge about what educators were thinking. It's such a big platform now for teachers to be involved and speak with each other. And we found that assessment was actually a really big priority for them, and them feeling that they just weren't being told how best to do it, and they felt it wasn't reflecting what their students were doing well. And we also felt that their well-being wasn't being looked after. And that's something we've really tried to focus on with our innovations this year, such as Smiles, which is using yoga and mindfulness, to help with the well-being of their teachers, and they can then pass that on to their students.
Yeah, and when we were doing this State of the Debate review, we wanted to understand, are people focusing on just a few things? Are we really thinking like these 3 things really need to improve in education? Like, is it just accountability? Like, is it just funding? But what we really found when looking at these was that no, it really covers the breadth of education. So when we're talking about these 10 themes, we're not just talking about 10 things in education, but there's 45 different subcategories that break it all down and make it digestible.
Yeah, and it helps us to also include parents, which we found was a really neglected stakeholder in education and a really important one. And we found that in nearly a massive proportion of their what they wrote about on Twitter, as well as blog posts mainly, that they wanted to be more involved with their children's education, but they just didn't know how.
Yeah. And so we also realized that students weren't really being represented. There was such a tiny amount of research. There was like one in Ireland where people kind of looked at, well, what do our students think, and trying to integrate it, but they just didn't see any outcome. So it was really great. We were recognized by Forbes with this report as a standout report because we included youth voice. And we actually managed to capture 400 different voices from around the world, from 19 different countries. And it's actually one of the biggest cross-country surveys in education, asking from students, what do you think really needs to improve? We were asking them things like, do you think it would be better to be better prepared for school, like afterwards, and what your future career might be, as well as do you want to learn how to live a sustainable lifestyle? Would you like a well-designed and learning environment? We really wanted to design a very easy, quick capture, as well as an opportunity to explain why.
And we also loved that a lot of them spent the time to give longer answers in the open-ended questions, which was such an insight into what students around the world are really thinking about their education.
Yeah, so Freddie's going to share a bit more now about the findings and what those demographics look like.
So as you can see, we have a fairly even split of male-female, which was great, and quite a cross-representation of ages. On this slide, we can also see that there were 3 dominating countries because we had connections with educators there, obviously a bit of bias. However, 30% of the answers were from 15 other countries, which is still a really great representation, and it's something we're definitely going to be working on over the next year, and we're hoping that you can help us make those connections with youth.
Yeah. We also looked at some of the cross comparisons in the analysis. So if you're interested in finding a bit more about what Taiwanese versus US students felt, wanted to improve, that's all in there as well. So yeah, some of the biggest stats.
So we found actually that 83% of students wanted to develop their skills for the future. They felt this was massively neglected in their education at the moment, and we've really focused hard with the innovations that we're picking that are working on helping students achieve this massive area that they feel is lacking.
Yeah, and this was across the board. So all students from all countries were feeling this. There wasn't a difference between the cultures. There wasn't a difference between the ethnicities or age groups, really. Except when they got to 18, they were a little bit...
Panic sets.
Yeah, it was very clear they wanted that.
Just to have a quote from a 17-year-old Puerto Rican student from the US, she said, "I feel that my education is more about getting good grades and graduating, but actually understanding and remembering the information and learning more about skills is useful to have as an adult, like mental health, regulating stress, fixing cars if they break down, and understanding how to do your taxes."
Yeah. The next stat is really interesting because a lot of people have actually contested this online, saying, you know, it doesn't really matter what the learning environment looks like. However, we've kind of found in our survey that 60% thought that a well-designed learning environment had a huge impact, and they were writing in the comments about how it helps make it fun, approachable, exciting. They want to come to school every day. So yeah, I wouldn't underestimate that in terms of the innovations in this kind of space.
Yep. We also found in the state of the debate, we didn't see environmental sustainability come up that often. However, students spoke about 55% of the time that they wanted to live a sustainable lifestyle. And recently, HundrED Spotlight, run by Natalie Day, one of our researchers, was focusing on on innovations, picking 10 that have been helping with sustainability, and she's going to be talking more about that tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great. So we just want to say thank you really so much for all of the input. I know some people here were really great in that, sending us sources, helping us really deeply understand what it is that you want to improve. We've also had some great feedback since. So as part of this report, we have mapped out those 10 different themes, and we've had emails from educators and system leaders worldwide saying, we're using your framework, this is amazing, like we're identifying our problem areas, we're celebrating the things that are great, and we're figuring out how to do this in a more holistic way. Because the real point of this report, kind of the findings showed that collaboration is key. I'm going to say that again, because collaboration really is key, and I think that's what is going to be amazing over the next few days, more of an opportunity for you guys to collaborate and learn from each other, because there are so many amazing things happening worldwide, and too often teachers are separated from different people, and they just don't think that they have the same needs, but we have found in this research paper that they do. So ultimately, like, everybody is striving towards the same goal, and I think people really want to work together on that. We just have to find a smart way to do so.
Yeah, and really emphasizing listening to your students, taking that time for feedback, not tokenistically, but just sitting down, listening to what they want to change.
Yeah, and I think it's been great to see that more people are going to take into account more and more what students think. And Lisette, for example, from Tricks and Tracks, is integrating some of the questions into her research when she's going around now and looking and finding out what the students want and what they need. And I just really implore that more people take that into account.
And just as a little last-minute plug, you can find our Every Child to Flourish online and our 100 yearbook again. And we just want to say thank you to helping us reach 53 million children and educators with all of your innovations.
Yeah, so thank you very much.